Back for another Monday Money Matters with Tom Hartmann from Sorted. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Hey, so today we're going to talk a little bit about Kiwisaver. It's sort of Kiwisaver one-on-one because it's such a big topic, but we'll just start with sort of looking into getting your Kiwisaver on track. Now, I was on the understanding that you couldn't contribute to Kiwisaver after 65, but you told me off air something different. Tell us about that, Tom.
Yeah, so maybe some people don't know this or haven't heard. I don't know if it was ever spread around that much, but at a certain point, Kiwisaver, which used to be closed to people over 65, was opened up, and so not only can you stay in Kiwisaver past the age of 65, there's no requirement to withdraw. You can actually join Kiwisaver, and for some people that might be a good. There's none of those restrictions. Many people will know that, if you're contributing to Kiwisaver, you can't really withdraw typically until you're 65. But if you join after you're 65, you can just use it as a typical investment fund that, you can withdraw from at any time.
Yeah, but the difference is after 65, you're not getting that government contribution. However, you are getting your super. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So before 65, the government will contribute 50 cents for every dollar you put in.
Nice.
Up to a maximum of $521 every year.
Yeah.
Right. So that year after year that goes. But when you turn 65, what ends up happening is that stops, and then NZ Super, the government pension, starts up.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, let's sort of go back to the beginning of Kiwisaver, getting Kiwisaver on track. Tom, what's the first thing that we need to do?
Well, obviously, the first choice is whether to be in it or not. And you really need a really good reason not to be in it, actually, because there are so many benefits. I mentioned that the government is putting money into it, matching 50 cents on every dollar up to $521.
Yep.
But there's also other money coming in if you are an employee. So if you're an employee, you're contributing from a certain percentage of your pre-tax salary, but your employer is contributing as well. And so we've got three sources of money flowing into this fund for you. There's your money, there's your employer's money, and there's the government money. And all of that is invested, and it earns returns. And over long periods of time, that really can compound up a little bit like a jet plane taking off. It might be flat towards the beginning, but then it really starts to take off steeper and steeper. It can make a huge difference to people over the long term.
Yeah. So that minimum amount to invest is 3%. That's right, isn't it?
If you're an employee, the default setting is that, you're contributing at least 3%. And then there's automated contribution rates. You can ratchet it up to 4%. Yeah. To 6%, to 8%, or to 10%. Yeah. And so that's your choice.
Would your recommendation be that the highest that you're, so you could go, I'm just going to do 3%, but really if your employer does 4%, that you should really be up at that level, right? You got to make the most of what's in front of you.
Yeah, if you think about Kiwisaver as a compounding machine, right, where money flows in, but then it actually grows money off of this thing. So if you don't have anything going in, you're not going to really get anything out of this machine, right? Yeah. And the more you have going in, the more you can get out of it, potentially, depending on what the markets do when it's invested. But remember that Kiwisaver is really for two goals in particular: if you're saving for your first home or for life after work. Your retirement, right? So if you're saving for other things, like say for example a kid's education, or you have other goals, even for a car, or say you have other goals, you wouldn't use Kiwisaver for that, right? So if So you want to make choices depending on what your goals are, but it is true that the more going into Kiwisaver, the more is going to come out, all things else being equal.
Yeah. Now, one thing you guys talk about, the importance of getting your tax rate right. I would have thought that would have just happened regardless, but obviously not. Tell us about that.
And largely it does. These days, you know, at the beginning, lots of people in Kiwisaver had to do it themselves and confirm. But we still tell people, you know, it's good to check in with your Kiwisaver company, your provider, and make sure that they have the right tax rate. Because it would be a shame in and you contributing, and if you were being taxed too much, for example. So you want to make sure you have that. And these are PIR prescribed investor rates, and so they're actually lower than some of the other ways our savings are taxed. So actually, you can say that Kiwisaver funds but you want to make sure you're in the right rate.
For sure.
For you. That's definitely true.
The right rate and the right fund. Now, my understanding with funds is it's really about being in the right one depending on how long you're keeping your money in there. Is that right?
Yeah. So let's talk about, first of all Kiwisaver funds are not equal. There's a little bit of a myth out there. Hey, they're all the same, so it doesn't really matter. But actually, let's talk about the type of fund first. And there are 5 types of funds.
Okay.
So the key question for people is, what type of fund is right for me? And what I'm talking about here is you'll have heard of like a balanced fund, and then there's a growth fund, and or a conservative fund. And there's 2 others, aggressive and defensive. And it's not about whether you're an aggressive person or not. It's about the way it's invested.
Yeah.
And so this is possibly one of the most important choices you can do, is to pick a Kiwisaver fund that's in the right type for you. And finding the right type is in Kiwisaver is based on 2 things. One is how soon you're going to use that money. So, for example, if you're about to use it for a first home, for example, you'd invest in one way. If you're using it for retirement, that's decades away, you'd invest it in another way. What you're doing by picking the type of Kiwisaver fund is setting how much risk you're taking. Investing is about putting your money at risk and then getting paid for it, right? So these are the 5 types of funds. And the other thing, so first thing is how soon you want to use that money. And the second thing is how you feel about what ends up happening in these funds, Lizzie, is that actually you can see your balance go up and down and up and down. It's a bit of a roller coaster. And the more aggressive, the more risk you take on, the more of a roller coaster you're going to see. So you have to be up for that.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want anybody to lose sleep over it. We wouldn't want anybody to, it starts to affect their well-being if they see their balance going up and down, because it's really easy to see that in Kiwisaver, because your Kiwisaver investment is valued all the time. So you can see how much it's worth at a given time. We can't, for example, for our houses, right? Houses actually go up and down in value all the time, but we don't have them valued all the time. We're not watching them on our phones, to see how much my house is worth today or anything like that. We care about it when it's time to sell, right? When it's time to sell our homes, we really want to know how much they're worth. And that's the same in Kiwisaver. We should really once you have the right type of fund for you, you should really set and forget and only really care about how much it's worth when it's time to withdraw.
Yeah.
When it's time to pull out that money.
Yeah.
So to help with this, on sorted.org.nz, we have a really easy questionnaire. It's 3 questions that you can do, and we can give you an idea of what type of Kiwisaver fund is best for you. It would suit best.
Awesome.
Your situation.
Yeah, go check that out. There's some great tips there. Sorted.org.nz. Tom Hartmann, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can catch all our interviews on Star. See you next time.